Welcome to the Feria Techcast, where we'll bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today we are joined by Jason Yon, a former fitness guru who made a radical pivot after his own health crisis. He is now a circadian health coach who teaches a surprising truth. Our primary health driver isn't diet or exercise, but light. He believes our modern lifestyle throws our body's natural rhythms out of sync, and that reconnecting with natural light is the key to unlocking our health. In this episode, we will explore the science of circadian biology and get practical tips anyone can use to feel better. So, Jason, welcome to the show.
Ezekiel, thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
All right, so let's dive in, Jason. Your bio, when I read it, it says you've lived 3 to 4 lives so far, from a video game addict struggling with depression to a fitness guru, and now a circadian health advocate. So, what was the final straw that made you question everything you thought you knew about health?
Well, I opened up my business in 2007. It started out as a fitness boot camp, and then it transitioned into 3 locations, and eventually a youth strength and conditioning facility, and coaching people on nutrition and supplements and all that. But it was I made the switch in 2018. Actually, a couple days ago was my 7-year anniversary. Switching to circadian biology and quantum health and whatnot. But it was probably 2000, 2015, 16, 17, and 18. I was starting to feel off, and I was living the life that I was telling my clients to live, which was following pretty much a diet, good nutrition, good workout regime, and a supplement program, and just following that lifestyle. And eventually it just broke me. I ended up with hormone issues, like an upside down cortisol melatonin. So in the morning, cortisol is supposed to rise, melatonin is supposed to be low, and as we get closer to nighttime, it's supposed to reverse. But I don't. My cortisol was just jacked, and whenever cortisol is up and elevated, so most people know that as the stress hormone. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a bad thing when it gets out of sync, and which was mine. What really was. Um, Following that, was I was doing everything that you're told to do right with nutrition, everything you're told to do right with your fitness. I was working out 5-6 times a week, still following that what I consider stupid now, but the bro science, eating every like 3 to 4 hours, 5 to 6 meals a day, little meals a day, so you stoke your metabolism, which is not true. But I was following that lifestyle, and ended up with the hormone problems. And then eventually I found Dr. Jack Cruz. I found him, it was actually the second time I found him. So I always say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, or in my case, the teacher will reappear. So I originally found him in 2013, but back then I didn't really feel too bad. I still had the fitness programs to sell you, the nutrition coaching, the supplements to sell everybody. So I just wasn't ready for his message. But 2018, I was fully ready. And I still, to this day, his 2 talks that really transformed my mindset around health is his Nourish Vermont 2016 and 2017 talk. So they're free on YouTube. I still consider them the greatest health talks ever. But people can watch that. But I had to watch it like 8 or 9 times before I actually took any action. And when I did finally take the action, I did it wrong to start, but I still felt amazing. So that's a tribute to the power of the sun. But eventually I course corrected, and I mean, it was a quick turnaround. It was less than, I'd say, probably 6 weeks, and I turned my whole hormone issue. My energy shot through the roof, sleep better, all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, I still continue to work on myself to this day, but that was the turning point right there.
Okay, that's quite a fascinating journey. So, Jason, can you quickly just, tell us about circadian biology for some of us who are just hearing about this for the first time? Tell us about it and why exactly you think light is a primary health driver in a human being.
Absolutely. Most people realize that we're governed on a 24-hour cycle. So the sun is going to rise at a certain time and it's going to set at a certain time. And that time will change throughout the year based on the seasons. So I know here where I am in Ohio, we've got 4 seasons: spring, winter, summer, fall. You in Nigeria, it's just you probably just got like a wet and dry season. So it's just hot
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah.
But so you've actually got the best sun that there is. So the sun at the equator is actually the best, and the further north you go. So I'm 40 degrees latitude. So my sun is not very good. So we only have about three months of good actual sun per year. But but when that sun rises and when it sets, so sunlight is just as important as darkness. So certain things are happening inside of you when the light is out, and then certain processes inside of you are happening when the darkness is out. And so it's extremely important to match your lifestyle as much as you can to nature's rhythms. Unfortunately, with modern living, we can basically make it light 24/7 with artificial lights, even when the sun goes down. So, and a lot of people, I don't know what it is over there, but the stat here is anywhere between 87 to 91% of the people of Americans, they spend that amount of time indoors. So they're actually hiding from the sun. And when people do actually go out, they'll block the sun. So they'll put sunglasses on, they'll put hats, clothes, and put sunscreen on, all that stuff, which is just it's not good stuff. We can get into that a little deeper, but your circadian rhythm, it's a 24-hour cycle, and certain things are supposed to happen during that 24-hour cycle time. So when you're supposed to wake up, that's governed by your circadian rhythm. When your blood pressure is supposed to be highest, when you're supposed to poop, when you're supposed to eat, when you're not supposed to eat, when the best time to work out is, when the worst time to work out is, all that stuff is dictated by circadian rhythm. So when certain hormones are supposed to go on, when they're supposed to go off, and everything is connected. So it's basically think of it like a tuned piano, and eventually if it gets untuned, it doesn't sound good, and eventually diseases will appear inside the body, which we don't want.
Okay, that was a really great explanation there, Jason. So I'd like to ask, you just mentioned that most people spend their day under artificial light rather than the natural sunlight. So what's actually the difference? If light is like the primary health driver, so why does it have to be sunlight exactly? Is it that there is a particular constituent from the sun that gives the health benefit that artificial light cannot?
Yeah. So with sunlight, and I believe it's between 200 to 760 nanometers of light, and sunlight actually goes all the way up to 3100 nanometers. But in between like 280 to 760 or so, there is, I think it's either a 7 or the number 8, and then it's followed by 32 numbers. So that's a big quadrillion, tillion, billion, whatever that number is. That's how many frequencies of sunlight there is in that frequency band. So basically, when you're out in the sun, the frequency is actually changing every nanosecond. On the flip side, when you're under artificial light, once you turn it on, from like 6 a.m. to midnight, it doesn't change at all. And the thing with artificial light is it typically will have a color frequency of like 5,500 to 6,500 Kelvin. So that equates to approximately 12 to 1 p.m. And if you're looking at that light at 6 a.m. or worse on the far end, so 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., midnight, after, it's basically giving your brain the signal it's 12 o'clock, it's 1 p.m. And again, that's not the time to start winding down to get ready for sleep. that's something that we need to be doing. We need to be doing something. We need to be productive. We need to be doing our work. We need to be taking care of our kids, or if you're in school, you need to be doing your homework or listening to classes and whatnot. That's artificial light is probably with non-native EMF, so like artificial frequencies like Wi-Fi, smart meters, your phone, that kind of stuff. Those are the two biggest reasons for like most of the modern man diseases that we see today. So plus blue light has other negative effects in the body. So it actually destroys certain things. So it'll destroy melatonin. So that was one of my major problems was the melatonin cortisol. So blue light will destroy melatonin and it will spike cortisol because it's basically, if you are under blue light, it will spike your glucose levels with no food at all. So it's like you're eating like a bag of Oreos just sitting under blue light without actually eating the bag of Oreos. I don't do you guys have Oreos down there, or do you know what Oreos are?
Yeah, I sure do know what Oreos
Okay.
are. I think those are
Okay.
chocolate biscuits.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's basically just eating junk food all day long. So it's like you've got junk food, you've also got junk light, and you need to take care of the junk light, or you'll start developing sleep issues, is where it's going to affect you the most. And that will affect your energy. So then you'll need to wake up, you'll need to have coffee, or you'll need to have like quick, simple carbohydrates that will give you like a quick boost of energy, but it doesn't last. And then you need more, and then you need more. And then if that keeps going, then as you age, you're going to need more disease will be presented to you. And then if you don't take care of that, the disease will get worse and worse and worse. And then eventually you'll die prematurely. But we can fix that if we get back in sync, in tune with nature.
Okay, that was pretty insightful. So, Jason, I have some questions as regarding your initial conversation. So, you talked about how most people, even when they enter under sunlight, some do wear sunshades and wear hats and clothes to cover up their body from this sunlight. So, I'd like to ask the concern of sunburns and ultraviolet rays affecting the skin. Does it not also contradict the idea that you have to, actually expose your body to sunlight to, benefit from the health, health advantage of it?
Yeah. So with sunglasses, well, before I get into that, so you have your master circadian clock inside of your eye, right behind the retina. So it's known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or the SCN for short, and that's the clock that needs to run faster than all the other clocks in your body. So there's typically a peripheral clock in front of every gene, every organ that we have. So if this clock gets out of sync, then other things are going to get out of sync. But you can have certain organs get out of sync and other organs be fine. So if you have like liver problems, then your liver clocks are running out of sync and whatnot. But in regards to the eye, so I would say the most important thing in regards to circadian rhythm is seeing the sunrise with naked eyes. So you don't want any sunglasses, you don't want contacts. If you do wear glasses, you pull them down or you take them completely off, because we want that sunlight going into the eyeball, into the SCN, to give the signal, hey, it's sunrise. You need to turn on these hormones to get the body prepared for the day, to be productive for the day. When you put on sunglasses, you are blocking that signal, especially when UVA and UVB light come out. So basically, your eye clock will talk to your skin clocks. And remember, your skin is your largest organ. So your skin is basically like a giant solar panel. And what happens above gets sent down to below. And then that gives the signal to produce, or gives the signal to the cells in the mitochondria. Here's some information. With this information, now you can make the energy in the body and go from there. But if you have the sunglasses on, it's going to block that signal. So your body's not going to be able to make as much melanin. So before I get into that, we could talk about like skin type. So I am typically a Fitzpatrick skin type 3. So I'm half Chinese, half white. But like in the summer, I can tan pretty well. So I can go up to like a 4.5. Maybe when I'm down in Florida on the beach, I can go down and I'm almost as dark as you. But So I typically make 3 to 4 times less than the average like white person, because they're typically like European, Northern European descent, and they will typically have a skin type of 1. You, being from Nigeria, you would have a skin type of 6, or, well, you would have a 6, but like other lighter skinned black folk would have like a 5 or a 6. Like Indians, Native Americans, they'll be like a 5 or a 6 as well. So when you are a 5 or 6, you need approximately 5 to 6 more times sunlight than the average white person. And when I say average white person, I'm not talking about the person who's spending 90% of their time indoors. So remember, your skin is a solar panel. So we have melanin on the outside. So that gives us our skin tone, our skin color. And we also have melanin on the inside. And melanin is basically like our superpower. It's the human superpower. So think of it like Superman, basically. And its kryptonite is going to be artificial light and non-native EMF. So like Wi-Fi, your phone, radiation, radar, cell towers, all that stuff. It's basically like a storage of energy. So the reason we never ever need sunscreen is because of melanin. So melanin will absorb approximately 99% of all UV radiation. So that's why you don't need the sunscreen. And people will say, like, oh, the sun causes skin damage and it causes DNA damage. That is true. But when you're constantly out in it, you're making your body stronger. So it's like doing a workout. In order to get to 10 push-ups, and you can't do one push-up, but in order to get to 10, you need to break the muscle down. So the muscle needs to be broken down. And then when you do all the recovery stuff, you do your nutrition, you do your grounding, you sleep properly, then that muscle builds back up, but it builds back up stronger. So now you're able to do 1 push-up, and then the next workout, you're 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 10. And that's the same way with the skin, because you need to build that solar callus up. Because if a lot of people here in the United States and Canada, they'll take vacations, they'll go down to Florida, or they'll go down to Texas or Mexico or somewhere in Central America after they've been inside all day, and inside most of the time. They go down to a beach and they skip the sunrise, they skip the early morning sun, which is the most important to help build that solar callus, and then they just sit out in the most strongest sun. So that's when you're going to hear about the damaging effects of the sun. That's when it's going to age the skin prematurely. That's when people get like leathery skin when they shouldn't have that. So it's all in how you use the sun. So you should be periodically out in the sun throughout the day. I mean, if you're in an office, there's certain things that you can do. I always say open a window to let the sun in, but you always want to be taking breaks. So you're basically setting your circadian clock so your clock knows what time it is. So it's supposed to know when it's supposed to be productive, when it's supposed to be winding down for sleep and whatnot. So that
Okay,
makes sense.
that's very insightful, Jason. So you talk about your own hormone issue appearing at 40. So for people who feel fine right now, what's a subtle sign that their light environment might be working against them, even if they eat and exercise well?
Typically, I mean, the number one sign is always going to be sleep. If you have any sleep issues, then that is a sign that your circadian rhythm is off. Here over in the States, I mean, you just go down to the main road down here, we probably have, I'd say, 15 places where you can get coffee within like a 2-mile radius. I don't know how it is down there, but if you sleep for 7, 8, 9 hours and you wake up and you need coffee, you need caffeine to get you through the day, that's a clear indication that your circadian rhythm is off. Because one of the biggest detriments to caffeine is it's dehydrating on the body. So I always say, if you are going to drink caffeine, well, I used to always say, because now I really try to get people off of caffeine as much as I can, because there's only a certain amount of people who benefit from caffeine. So like you can be like a short metabolizer, which the caffeine goes through you in like 1.5 hours, or you can be like a long metabolizer where it takes like 10 hours to get through your system. The people that really benefit are like the people in between, so like 4 to 6 hours. But that's why it's important to actually find out if you are a fast metabolizer or a slow metabolizer of caffeine. But I typically try to get people off of it, but it's going to dehydrate you. And what I always used to say was, if you drink, for every ounce of caffeine that you drink, you want to drink 2 more ounces of water, like good water, not like fluoridated water or anything. So like spring water, if you can, in addition to your regular water. So people are supposed to, like, most people think that 8 glasses a day is like what you're supposed to be getting. That's a good start if you're not there, but eventually you want to get to half your body weight in ounces in water, just to basically just keep everything running smoothly, because 99.9% of our molecules in us are actually water molecules. And if those get dehydrated, then we're not going to sleep properly. We're not going to get, well, one of the big things with another thing with the artificial light is when the melatonin goes down, because melatonin helps us get into the deeper stages of sleep. So like stage 3, which is REM sleep, and stage 4, which is the deep sleep. If we cannot get into those stages of sleep, you're just getting like light sleep. So that's when the stage 3 and stage 4 is like the deeper stages where we actually recover the body. So there's 2 change programs known as apoptosis, which is basically taking out the trash, taking out the cellular trash, taking out the mitochondrial trash. And then there's autophagy, which is basically recycling. So we're going to recycle certain mitochondria in certain cells. And if you can't do that, you can't get into that deep sleep. You can't get into REM sleep, so you can't recover. And basically you're living on the same proteins over and over again. So it could be days, it could be weeks, it could be months, and it could be years that you're using the same proteins over and over and over again, and you're just not getting the sleep you need. And then any type of sleep issues, so snoring, any amount of snoring is not good. Breathing is one of the main things that I talk about. So I've got a 14 pillars of health webinar. Number 2 on that list is breath or breathing. So if we're not breathing properly, snoring is a sign of mouth breathing. So we want to be nasal breathers, belly breathers, diaphragmatic breathers. And if we don't get that, then things in us are not going to work properly. Because, I mean, you can go weeks without food, you can go days without water, but you can't go 2 minutes without the proper oxygen and carbon dioxide ratios. So otherwise you'll be brain dead. So did I answer your question there?
Yeah, you sure did, and in a very fantastic way, I'd say. So for the STEM professionals and tech people in our audience listening, those people in those fields are often glued to their screens in labs or offices for very long periods at a stretch. So, what is one simple, non-negotiable change they can make tomorrow to start repairing their circadian rhythm?
Well, if you're in office, I mean, the number one thing for circadian rhythm is always going to be the sunrise. So that's the setter of the circadian rhythm. That's going to turn on the proper hormones and whatnot. Seeing that with naked eyes and as much naked skin as you can show. And then when you are in the office, your screens, you can change the screens on your phone. You can change the screen on your computer. So I use a program called Iris. So it's just just look up Iris blue light for computer, and it'll come up for you. But it basically it takes a certain amount of blue light. You can take it all out, which I typically do. Or if you're somebody that needs color, you're working on graphs, or you're a graphic designer or something, you can alternate it throughout the day. So you can change the settings throughout the day. On your phone, there's certain settings that you can go into. So if you go to improvementwarriorfitness.com/redphone, and I can send you the links as well. I take you through a video how to do that on Android, and in the description, it describes how to do it on iPhone as well. But that is pretty important. If it's a work computer where you cannot put Iris on, there's like screens that you can put on over the computer, or blue blockers. So they make different types of blue blockers. So like a day blocker, which is like a yellow lens, would be excellent for the screen during the day. But if you have eye problems, so typically with blue blockers, there's yellow, which is like the day blockers. There's orange, And then there's red, which is like the nighttime blockers, which blocks all the blue light, all the bad green as well. But if you have like eye issues, then really look into the blue blockers, because myopia is a disease. So that's the nearsightedness. And as we age, it typically gets worse and worse and worse. And eye health is directly correlated to brain health. So as your myopia gets worse, you're getting closer to the worst, or the worst eye diseases. So like acute macular degeneration, retinal detachments, cataracts, glaucoma, retinopathy, all that stuff. Some things that you can do. And there's a new computer company out there called Daylight. I just got mine probably 3 or 4 months ago, and it has changed my life. It's one of my favorite things, and my kids love it. So I still need to use my old computer, because when they come home from school, they typically grab mine. So improvementwarriorfitness.com/daylight. It's basically this blue light free filter, or it's a blue light free computer. And yeah, it's awesome. So those are some things that and then you also want to take breaks, take periodic breaks. So like a cigarette smoker, they'll take breaks outside. So you want to take your like sun breaks throughout the day.
All right, Jason, that was again packed with insights. So you've transitioned from fitness to teaching about light and its benefits. So what was the hardest part of that entrepreneurial pivot, and how did your existing clients respond to these new, less conventional paths?
Yep. So yeah, like I said, I opened my gym in 2007, and I closed it down in 2020. So COVID made me close it a little sooner, but I mean, I was eventually going to close it later that month. But yeah, so it was like a quick transition. So I started doing this stuff in 2018. 2019, I started changing the lights inside the gym, the studio. So I went to like amber lights and like infrared, or like infrared heat lamps and stuff inside of it. It wasn't, if there was a fire marshal who came and inspected me, I would have been shut down, because I had cords going on the walls everywhere, lamps everywhere. So it was not a good situation. So if I had to open up another gym, I would make sure that it was like a warehouse or something that had like a roof that was able to open, or like garage doors or something like that. Yeah. But now I typically coach people out of my home. I have a gym here in my home. I just coach them out of my basement or in the front yard when the weather is right. But the transition was, I started creating like certain courses and stuff. So I created like the 34-day light challenge, 32-day circadian rhythm transformation, circadian badass course, all that stuff. And my main thing that I do, so the courses are like an introductory to like circadian biology and all this stuff, how to eat properly within a circadian way, how to work out properly in a circadian way, because that was one thing. One of the big things I was doing was I had a early morning class, 5:15 a.m. So I had to get up at 4:30 a.m. to get there. I usually get there at like 5 o'clock, and I would usually work out before the clients got there, which I have learned working out. So there's a saying I always say: when the sun is up, kitchen's open. When the sun is down, kitchen's closed. And then on the fitness side, when the sun is up, gym is open. When the sun is down, gym is closed. So, but that was one of the things that really killed me. But the courses are basically like an introductory to what I teach and whatnot. And then if somebody wants to go a little bit deeper, I have one-on-one coaching just through Zoom that we do, and we basically go through your lifestyle. And yeah, so it's been quite a journey. I've been getting quite a few people who are into this circadian space, but they just don't have like the final pieces. And then I've also been getting like the people who are still stuck in that mindset that it's all about fitness, it's all about nutrition. So those are a little harder cases, because I do have to work a little bit more with the mindset and a little more with the coaching, showing people that it is actually about the light and whatnot. So it's always, Jack Kruse always has a quote that says, your light environment is more important than the food you eat, or the exercise you do. So
Okay, so as relates to your work, bridging hard science with everyday lifestyle changes, what does the word innovation mean to you?
innovation. So, I mean, you've always got to be willing to change. I know you said in the introduction, I basically feel like I've lived 3 to 4 lives. So we didn't get into my story before I opened my gym. So before I opened my gym, I went through depression, anxiety, thoughts of suicide pretty much weekly. And basically I fixed myself. Basically, well, I didn't really, I got out of that state just by fixing my mindset and through nutrition and fitness. So nutrition and fitness can help you, uh, but it can also hurt you. But when you're younger, it typically can help you a little bit more because you are younger, you're able to recover better and quicker. But in order to innovate, you've got to be able to take something that you fundamentally do not believe, examine it, see if it's going to fit in your life now, and put it in your life, or put it off for some time later, or just completely discard it. Because you never know when you're going to need something. So, like I said, Dr. Cruz showed up in my life twice. First time in 2013, I wasn't ready. Second time, I was ready. And yeah, so you just got to be willing to take a look at certain things and see where they fit in and whatnot. So one thing I've recently changed is the way I work out. So I've been working out since 1990, and I stopped. I was typically doing like bodybuilding type stuff, the stuff you see Arnold and Sly doing, and powerlifters and bodybuilders, like curls and everything. But I've stopped deadlifting, back squatting, Olympic lifting. I stopped that in 2024 and moved to more functional movement, because it's like our 4 primal movement, or our 4 primal moves that helped us evolve and not go extinct as humans are our ability to stand, ability to walk, ability to sprint, and then ability to throw. And basically, we want to train in a way that mimics that. Otherwise, it's going to basically cause certain issues, spinal issues, hip issues, knee pain. So I don't know how it is over there, but over here, like the orthopedic surgeons are like, they have wait lists. So they're so busy. But does that answer your question about innovation?
Yeah, it
Uh,
does. I mean, I like to hear the way you see it in your own way. Not that there is actually, a definite meaning of innovation that I wanted to hear from you. I just wanted to hear your own opinion on it. And now you pretty much did great justice to it. So finally, Jason, for our listeners who are ready to take a first step into understanding this, where's the best place for them to go get your 17-step guidebook and start their own journey?
yeah. So my 17-step guidebook basically goes over a lot of things we talked about today and some other stuff. So it's my Mitochondriac Improvement Warrior Guide, improvementwarriorfitness.com/mitochondriac. So it's just mitochondria with a C at the end. And yeah, you can download that. And if people want to follow me on social media, you can pretty much find me pretty easily. I'm sun.yun on most places, and Yun Training on Twitter. It's Yun is YUN.
Okay, Jason, it's been a conversation packed with so much insight, and I'm really excited to have you on the show today.
Yes, Ezekiel, thank you. I appreciate being on.